Precis, ja men vi börjar då. Ska vi göra det? Hej! Ni alla pratar svenska va? Eller hur? Ja. Då... Hej. Are you speaking Swedish? No. Okay, yeah, good. No. But they were Swedish, so I could speak Swedish. Yeah, it's in English. Yeah. Welcome. Hi guys. How are you? Yeah? I'm fine, yeah. Are you excited about pain and suffering? Yeah? You were very excited? Okay, good. That's in the film. So the intention is kind of, for this thing, is to, that you kind of like to accept pain and suffering. So it's a lot about acceptance. To be more efficient team. And I think it's also a little bit about yourself, because it's kind of, leadership is usually about yourself, kind of. Yeah. And the desired outcome is kind of to be you as a leader, but also as a team member, which is also can be good, to get like a deep understanding and managing pain and suffering within your team, allowing you and your team to grow more forward, to move forward more efficiently. So it's a lot about like moving on, kind of, in a sense. There's 2 parts. There will be roughly 45 minutes. There will be a break. There will be roughly 45 minutes. Also, some rules for today. It's kind of like we're gonna lean in a little bit to vulnerability, because that is kind of what's gonna happen, right? When you talk about pain and suffering, it's about things that sucks, things that you want to avoid. So kind of like lean into that. I'm gonna have a little bit group discussion. So if you talk about feelings, etc., or like things that can hurt, right? Then you can, if you say talking broad terms, now we're talking non-violent communication that maybe some people know, but if you're talking broad terms, like this is like this, right? Then someone is like, but I'm not like that, right? And then that can hurt you. So to avoid that, you can always talk about from, I feel like this, I am experienced like this. Then you will not have the chance of hurting other people, right? So that is kind of like a tool here to talk about vulnerability, right? And what I think is most important here is we're gonna kind of talk about like acceptance to what is, right? So so when you think about a situation, like if you're gonna do like teamwork, etc., don't think about how it can be or how it could be. Think about what is, right? That is what I think like I'm gonna prime you with. Not of like, you should make decisions this way and then it would be fine. More of decisions is the 7 decisions I made with the team, 4 of them was bad, right? So, and that's the fact, kind of like acceptance. But I think, like, first off, I think we should start a kind of like, who are you? So I think you could ask, and I think you're gonna ask some other person who you don't know who they are and what team they are working in. So you can do that now. That means you're gonna feel some pain and suffering, right? Because you're gonna ask a person you don't know, and that sucks, right? But you're gonna do that, right? No? Huh? We can start to round up a little bit, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can start to round up a little bit. What what did you say about harmony? That was interesting.
I just said that when I work in a team, I always try to find the harmony between the goal of the team and the harmony within the team.
Okay, exactly. The goal of the team within the harmony of the team. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, is there someone who wanna like summarize what another person said? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Anyone wanna? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Right, right, right. Yeah. And how does he work with in teams, etc.? But I kind of want for this. I will like put a like wrapper within this. So kind of how you work in teams. So we can kind of throw that away. And because I think like I have like kind of my own take here. So to like guide us through this little, and that is kind of like the human experience, like being in a group, right? Is kind of like you want to be understood, and you want to be a part of something, right? All you want is someone to like acknowledge you and how you feel, and then you want to be a part of that, right? That is like then you have like some basic needs, right? You need to eat, you need to go to the toilet, etc., right? But like in the end, just being human is that you want to be understood and you want to be a part of something. If that is a fun game, if that is making a weird game, or if that is, I don't know, be on a rock concert, right? You want to like resonate, you're yourself want to resonate with the outworld, and you will be confirmed, and you also want to be a part of it, right? Well, the problem here is that when you're inside something, right, you are part of a gang, someone says, for example, everyone with the pink shirt is ugly, and then you have a pink shirt, and then you feel pain, right? It's kind of like the immediate feeling. And then you may be like, oh, it's so hard to be in this team, in this group, etc. So you go outside, and you're not part of it. And then it's not fun to be a part of it either, right? And then you suffer, right? So that is kind of like the feeling of not being part. And then like the pain is kind of like the immediate feeling when you're in it. So we put ourselves in kind of like a hard situation being human, right? Either we are in something and we are hurting ourselves, or we are outside and we hurt ourselves, right? There's like no winning here. Yeah, you're never in a good situation. So I think we should kind of, what I want also is that you kind of want to bring you into this. So I want us to self-reflect a little bit about this. So I'm going to ask you some questions now. So I'm going to think about your work life, the different teams you've been in, and you're going to think about something when you've been outside of a group and suffered. You're going to think when you've been a part of group and being hurt. This is going to be only for yourself, so you don't need to share anything. And you're going to find examples where you thought it was okay to be hurt, or, like, I don't know, excluded for completing the task. You're going to try to find an example where you felt hurt, but it wasn't actually relevant. So you thought about it, and then you'll be like, oh. Are you okay? Yeah? So you have 10 minutes. And I suggest that you write it down also, because it's much better to write things down. So think about like how you were in a team, right? You were in a workplace, you were assigned to a new group, or you were in school, you had a group project, you don't need to take the big things. Suggest a deep in thought is good. people done? 4 is kind of hard. Yeah, it's a little bit hard. We can think a little bit more, but then we can. It's okay. I think the intent is kind of just to put you in thoughts into it, right? It's okay if you don't have an answer. But okay, are everyone done? Or yeah, you can always be more. But so I'm sorry for taking you through this, but I also kind of want you to, like, I could just say things, right? But then you don't connect it to your life, right? But we want it. I want to say things and also bring you with it, right? So that's why I hook you up also to your life in a sense, right? That's the intent, right? Is any thoughts when you did this? The last question was hard. Why was that hard? Or yeah. All right. Yeah, when it's not relevant, when it's heard. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is an example of that?
I have one example. The manager wanted to schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
The day before the manager said that she wanted to. I was really worried.
Mm-hmm.
Why did she want to schedule it? I felt very surprised. At that moment, I felt like, okay, maybe it's bad news that would come.
Right. Right.
But then when we had the meeting, it was not anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. What I'm thinking is, when I bring back, of course, your feeling is always valid, right? But many times we come up with responses, kind of, that was relevant, you know. But is it relevant in this situation, in a sense? That's kind of what I'm leaning for. But anyone who have any more thoughts when they did this? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like there were many occasions when I felt like I was not okay with the situation, but as long as I had goal and I felt like okay, for me the thing is working towards the end goal,
Mm-hmm.
I can still be making it. And the only occasion where I could find that I was hurt and I felt like it was pointless was when no one actually wanted to be that team and no one actually wanted to achieve.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Exactly. Mm. Yeah, it's interesting with end goal and yeah. So let's talk a little bit about pain and suffering then. So I was in a competition once, and we were competing against each other, and there was like a person. He came number 2, and he started to cry. It sucked for him, and what everyone told him was, "It's okay. Oh, you were super good. Even if you didn't come number 1, you still you don't need to feel hurt, right? You don't need to cry." So what we were telling him was that you shouldn't feel what you are feeling, right? You should avoid the pain, kind of. And that is kind of like also, so that is what the whole group was communicating. You shouldn't feel pain, right? But he came number 2. He was almost winning, right? And that sucks, right? Because you could win. what they're saying is that you shouldn't feel it, right? And that means like you get like what the whole group is communicating is this behavior of walking away, right, of it. But then is what happens if you avoid pain all the time, right? So imagine if you are in a team setting and you're gonna finish a project. You have limited time, right? Kind of what you talked about, right? End goal. And you have harmonize with the group. It's a conflict, right? Can you avoid the pain then? Right? And but also like what if you are in a meeting and you're trying to avoid the pain all the time, right? And then you became in the opposite thing where you kind of like listen to everyone. Okay, no one has to, and then things go super long, right? Because you're trying to do the perfect way. So I think it's kind of, we are in a situation where it's working within teams, you cannot avoid it, right? You will always cause pain, you will always cause suffering somewhere. And I think I will put up a video to like legitimize this, how do you say that? So I'm not alone. Oh, and I need to bring this up. Does that work like that? You know this guy? He did some things, right? Yeah? So he talks. Man hör inte ljudet på YouTube. Ja, det är sant. Ja. Det är på 100. Just det, ja. Nu ska vi se. Ledsen för dessa tekniska. Den där håller jag med.
Så är det då. Men den är kopplad.
Ja, precis.
Testa igen.
And when you're doing something that's not easy to do, you're not always enjoying it. I don't love it's not easy to do. And when you're doing something that's not easy to do, you're not always enjoying it. I don't love every day of my job. I don't think every day brings me joy, nor does joy have to be the definition of a good day. And every day I'm not happy. Every year I'm not happy about the company. But I love the company every single second. And so I think that what people misunderstand is somehow the best jobs are the one that brings you happiness all the time. I don't think that that's right. You have to suffer. You have to struggle. You have to endeavor. You have to do those hard things and work through it in order to really appreciate what you've done. And there are no such thing that are great that was easy to do. And so by definition, I would say, therefore, I wish upon you greatness, which by my way of saying it, I wish upon you plenty of pain and suffering. And so
Pod lets you easily.
Så liksom inte bara jag. Så. Man vill ha någonting som är bekräftar ens vad man tänker så. Men det verkar liksom ändå som att man behöver liksom erkänna lite så. Att det är fan jobbigt att göra saker och ting så. All right, sorry. Sorry for the autopilot. So I like the analogy of like feel the heat. And kind of the Swedish expression burnt child dreads the fire. Bränt barn skyr elden. So that means like when you were hurt once, right? By the fire. That means like when you feeling the heat, you are you're avoiding it, right? And then there's kind of like two responses to this. That either you're avoiding, every time you feel some heat, you're avoiding it, or you are like, ooh, you're feeling it when you're like trying to solve it. You run through it, kind of like. And then you suddenly become like a project manager of a conference or something. Because, I need to please, or someone asked for this. Oh, I need to solve this. Oh, someone asked for this. Oh no, that can be a problem, so I solve this. Beep, boop, boop. And then you like work, and then you like burn out, right? So what I like the analogy of the heat is that you can stand in the heat for a while, right? But you cannot stand it for too long. And also like kind of how far away are you from it? But also like if you're not standing in the heat, if you don't stand and feel like, no, in my breast, in my chest here, it feels like I have a bad feeling. And you're just like, I shouldn't do this thing. I need to please this person to do that, right? Or I'm going to just avoid it, go away. I will not put myself in this situation, right? Then you're not able to be like, what is going on here? You're not able to self-reflect, kind of like, why do I feel this, right? And it becomes hard for you to kind of like solve that problem, right? Because either you run too fast or you avoid everything, right? So you kind of need to get used to like it's a good way to be in the heat and kind of get the sense of how much can I be in the heat. I think we have said that we have, but I think we could put, because I have one of these, yes. I'm thinking if I should move this one. Let's move this one to later, I think. So, because I'm much quicker than I think I would put. I think kind of how you communicate, I talked about that before, right? If you are a group that communicate, you shouldn't like feel pain and suffering. You say you avoid it. Then you need to find a way to communicate that. So you need to kind of like, when you are in a team, you need to start to acknowledge that it's okay to feel the pain and suffering, right? When you are in a group, so in this case, where a person came number 2, and he feels hurt, right? Because he sucked, he wasn't the best. And sometimes you want to be the best, right? Then don't say, you shouldn't feel that way. Say more, yeah, that sucks, man. But also, it is better that you also say, I feel pain and suffering. Because you also need to create a culture where where that is okay, and that is acknowledged. But I think there's also like a reason why we don't have that culture. Why we tend to not want to share our burdens, right? And that is, I think there's like a connected need to it, right? Someone says, you have like, it looks like this kind of, right? I make a lot of sacrifice right now. It's stressful. So you work in a team. And then you have a need to it, that someone thinks that, that means that person want to be taken out, work less. And that means that burden would fall to someone else, right? And that means that someone else has to take the work. So then it becomes more obvious, right? Why are you feeling that you say you shouldn't feel pain, right? Or everything should be fine. Because if there's a need connect to it, that means that you also defend yourself, right? You also say, no, don't put things on me, right? So what I think is good when you communicate is, I make a lot of sacrifice now, it's stressful, but let's just finish this and chill next month, right? So when you are communicating, it's also good to communicate in a way that you like disconnect the need from the pain, like, or your hurts, right? Because then suddenly, but this is also to yourself, right? When you reflect inwards, how you communicate to yourself. Someone says, someone says, this was not good, right? And then you be like, oh shit, I need to fix that, and you start to fix it right away. And you start to run. You be this person who runs, right? Because there's a need connected to you. So I need to fix this, I need to please that person, I need to do that, right? But if you be like, no, wait, I don't need to do anything, then you can also observe what is going on here, right? And there's sometimes, as we talked about before, I don't need to please the person, right? But you need to disconnect those if you going to be able to stop, right? Also for yourself, your eternal mental image, right? So I think it's very important to, like, when you talk, even if you're going to talk about having acceptance, that you also need to disconnect the needs, right? But it's also very valuable information if someone feels like they're sacrificing a lot, right? When you want to have a team that share that information. Oh, I am burdened right now. I am in the heat. I have 2 weeks left. Then it will be too much for me. But if you have a culture where you don't do that, right? Then you don't know the status of the different people. But what you need is the people to be aware, to be in the heat, right? Because otherwise you have on and off, like someone is not in it, everything's fine, and then they're starting to be like, everything's fine, but you don't know their threshold, right? So I think it's very important, like, create a culture where to talk about pain and suffering, you also need to disconnect the need, but also for yourself. So now I talked about, like, kind of like, how are you just like being a person in a group, right? We want everyone in the group to acknowledge the pain. We want everyone in the group to say, I'm hurt, right? That is the thing that every good member in the team is doing. But also then we talk about leadership, because it's in the end, I said leadership workshop, right? And then I want to bring back to kind of like being understood and be a part of something. And then it comes to, what was it that you said again? You talked about the goal and the exactly. So leadership is kind of like a balancing act of what you're saying, right? You have the perfect way of doing, the harmony of the group, right? You're doing how you should complete the project, how you, and for example, doing the harmony, make sure everyone's listen to everyone, see everything, right? But then we also have a hard reality that we have limited resources, limited time, limited capabilities. And being a leader is kind of managing this balancing act of doing the perfect way, in quotation mark, and moving on. And be like, we have to move on now. Because you are looking at the resource, you know the resource, you know the time, right? And you know the capabilities. And be like, we have to move on here. And you're doing the imperfect way, right? And that makes people hurt. So it is what the CEO of NVIDIA says. Like, there is pain and there is suffering in every project you do. That's kind of like the, wait, I'm getting a little bit distracted. That's kind of like the nature of working on a project. So what are you doing then as a team leader? So you can collectively sense make, to make people be understood, to make people feel they are part of something. Because that's what hurts you, right? If you move on, like you, I will come up with an example. We will have an example later. So collective sounding is when you move on, when you do the imperfect way, and people have like mental model of like how it should be, right? It should be like that. It should be in this way. But then you be like, no, we have to move on. Then you want to help people to feel like they are understood. So they will feel like, oh, no, we should do this. For example, making a hard decision. We'll have an example later. And you want to help people be a part of the team again. So think about this, for example. You are you're a group. You just started, and two people is like idea guys, and someone had to be like, we're gonna make a windfall park, and the other person's like, we're gonna make a solar panel park. And then you have to make a decision between those. So they have like moved ahead a little bit, and you have to make a decision, right? And you choose the solar farm. But the other person it's not a part of like the group's mental image. They are in their world, right? But also they were not chosen. Their alternative, what they wanted, was not what was chosen, right? So then you need to be kind of like collectively sense make as a leader. And first of, you are not part, you feel someone's choosing things that you were not chosen, right? And that sucks. So first you want to be acknowledged, you want to be understood, because otherwise you're gonna be like, yeah, you're gonna join this team here, and then be like, yeah, but I don't feel, I feel angst, right? I feel not chosen, and then how can I be a part of the team then, right? So first you need to acknowledge the feeling, right? And then you also need to show you want to be what the new thing that you're part of. Like, okay, we're gonna do, we're gonna do. I know you're gonna do wind farm, but we're gonna do solar panels. But you are still good at the technical part, so that person will handle the solar part. You will do this, and you like show what is your role, what is your new role in this, right? And suddenly, you can be, and you feel like you're a part of it. So leadership is all about, like, managing. Everyone want to be understood, right? Everyone want to be a part of something, but then you are not understood because you have to move on. You cannot do the perfect way. You cannot have the team harmony because you have the goal of the project is conflicting. So then you need to make people feel understood, and you need to make people feel that they are a part of it. And you do that, you're managing this balancing act all the time by collectively sense make. To be like, oh, this is the mental image we're gonna do now. And here's your part. And yeah, it sucks. Right now. Maybe later, it's good. But for a while. Yeah. So, like, teams that accept their pain and like share the pain, they can also like move on quicker. They can make harder decisions, and you can also get the sense of I lost the thought. Yeah, but they can like move on quicker because it's okay to be left out sometimes, right? It is when you're moving on, you make a decision, right? You you make a decision. You say, oh, we're gonna choose this person. We're gonna go with this one. This decision, and then the person who feel like, oh no, we didn't choose my decision. They because it's okay in their mental image. It's okay to no, this is now I'm not avoiding pain, right? Then I'm still a part of the gang, right? Oh, it hurts a little bit. Yeah, it sucks. Because that's a part of it. And then it's suddenly, then you can make decisions. You can run faster. You can, and I think I have like an example of, I have a friend who I did this workshop with, and he's a people pleaser, right? And he wants everyone to like, okay, what did you say? What did you say? What did you say? What did you say? And then you have like a round. And of course it comes with good intention, but what happens is when everyone needs to say their thing, the meeting becomes very slow. And you become disconnect. And then you suffer instead, right? He's trying to avoid the pain of not being understood, but in the end you suffer, right? Because everyone been to meetings, they go too long, everyone is talking, and it's that's not fun either, right? And many times you are in a situation where we know that Eric is the person who knows best on this, and then you as a leader can say, okay, but Eric, you know this good, right? And that 80% of the case that could be because he knows all the people in the team, right? 80% of this could be the best decision, right? But there's always but why you aren't doing this makes this suggestion is that because you can hurt someone, right? So instead you avoid it. And you say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And but what is also is good if you are a team that have accepted the pain and suffering, right? Then is the 20% cases where that isn't the case. There's someone is then it's also then that person, because they are not avoiding, they feel pain, right? It's not nice to be a part of the group. Right? Because you had an idea, and you didn't have the voice. But then it's also okay. It's okay to feel that in the group. But then it's also okay to say, "Wait a minute, I have an idea. You left me out, right?" Because not everyone will say, "Oh no, you shouldn't feel hurt, blah blah blah," because you are hurt, right? But it's okay to put that into the I'm hurt, right? You put that idea, the conflict, right, within the group. It's okay to put out there in the group, right? And that means you can make decisions quicker, right? So, and yeah, so like, if you need to, yeah, I come back to this all the time, right? A group that accepts pain and suffering, and I want to be very clear. Like I don't want people to. You shouldn't take away from this is that you should hurt people or you should, etc. Right? That you should be like a boss that is pointed with your firm hand. The opposite. That this is a way that people can be vulnerable within a group. That people can make mistakes, etc. So it's to create that culture where you can take care of each other, right? So it's like through the pain and suffering, through that we accept in this, is that we can take care of each other, right? But it's you're thinking of like, oh, I should avoid it, but you should accept this kind of. I'm gonna do like a reflection, but I also said that I've been a part of Robinson, Survivor. And I think it's interesting when I came back from that, when I've been eating coconuts and living in like it's make pretend artificial like world where you don't have all the comfort in the world. My first food I ate was the most amazing thing in the world. It was so good. The music I was listening to, I cried, right? The phone, I took up my phone on my computer, on my phone, and the colors, the images were so perfect. The bed I was lying in was extremely comfortable. We live in a world that we can take away the pains. But we are not made for that world where we could avoid all the pains. We are made to feel the pains and the sufferings. And the world we live in is extreme in many sense. Like we have pillows that we can take and sit on, right? It's so nice. Yeah. So, I think you can do a reflection, one last reflection for 10 minutes. Yeah, so think about your work life. Think about when you have to move on quickly. Do you, and also like think about, in this case, yourself kind of. Like, do you acknowledge pain and suffering towards yourself? What behaviors could you do differently? How do you right now communicate pain and suffering? Are you saying you should avoid it, or how do you do it? And do you do it? Do you acknowledge towards yourself? Like, how are you avoidant towards yourself? Right? Yeah. like maybe start to finish. Yeah. Any reflections? Mm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Yeah. 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 Right, right, right. Yeah. 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 Yeah, exactly. It's also interesting with a joke, right? But you understood, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you you don't have. You are not the mental images, but also there's like the joke is also. Yeah, it is. There is also like disconnected the need, right? There's you do it in a fun way, right? And that means there's like haha, and then it's out there, right? Yeah, and but it's also you don't say, but say it in a serious way, or even if the intent here maybe is to say it that you should be able to say it in a serious way, but I think there's like also like a way to say it in a way that it is disconnected the need, right? And I think that's also like you can be like joking about different things too. I think yeah, interesting, interesting, yeah. Any other one? Mm.
What happened? I crashed.
Yeah.
I did not communicate my own pain. I chose the suffering way.
Yeah.
To please people in my surroundings.
Yeah.
After that, I crashed for I think 1 or 2 years.
Mm.
And after that, I started to set some boundaries and
Mm.
express my when things are feeling painful.
Mm.
Or if I suffer something, I do it immediately.
And that is kind of what I mentioned with kind of the running behavior, right? You are be like, oh, and there is kind of the need is connected to yourself, right? Oh, I need to say this. I need to say this. I need to do this to avoid the pain and the suffering, right? For that you are not accepting that you're having, right? So you're trying to avoid it. You start to run, right? Then you crash. Then, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Any more?
how to get better at it. And I think it is kind of what you said that like for me the hardest is not to like acknowledge the pain, but to like time like acknowledge it quickly. Like
Mm.
I got good at like acknowledging it, but I will do it like after the situation ended, and sometimes just
But I think that is kind of what the point is here also, like there's you're also trapped in that. If you are in the group that talking about that everyone says, no, you shouldn't, right? Then saying that within the moment, that also internalize that, then you also create that behavior of not accepting it in the moment, right? And that is why you're taking it outside, right? So we are building situations where we are not able to kind of express how we feel in the moment because of that, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and of course, like many times I shouldn't. But it can be like I can create this image here of you just like blah, but it's more of like what I push it a little bit, right? Because I know you will, if we only get 20%, you will not be in the situation where everyone just like saying whatever they feel, because I don't think that is a good situation either, right? But it's also you want to create situations where you can be that, I think, maybe. Yeah. Anyone have a comment on that? No? Yeah. Anyone have anything more? Yeah. We kind of end this then. So, kind of like for yourself and as a leader. Misspelled there, I think. Leader, no. Well, I don't know how to spell. So, pain and suffering yourself is acknowledging your pain, your suffering, that you feel it, right? Towards yourself. Acknowledge others' pains and suffering. And that means that you can stay in the heat. That means that you are able to observe, am I a people pleaser? Let me come back to that. Do I need to be a people pleaser here? Do I need to feel the pain I feel right now? Because it sounded like you couldn't in your case, right? So that you mean, so that now we come back to that, what you asked for, right? Like, why do I need to be that, right? You don't need to be a people pleaser. But you kind of end up, but you can be a runner, kind of like. If you kind of like, if you creating a situation where it's hard for yourself to observe it, right? And be like, do I really need to feel this way? Yeah. And then you can also learn from it. And then we talked about leadership. And I think leadership is only about 3 things. It's of course extremely much more. But I like to come up with my own things. I'm like that. But it is that people want to be a part of something and they want to be understood. But you have a balancing act of that you need to move, that you have like that you have a reality, and then that is a limited time, limited resources, limited capabilities. That means you cannot do things perfectly. So you have to balance in that act. So then when you have to move on and you're not doing it perfectly, you have to collectively sense make to make people be understood, to make people be a part of something. So that was the end of pain and suffering. Or should we take it with us all the time? Yes. Yep, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, right, you are the new.